Let's do some studio discussion. 60 scientists and agricultural extension officers from 5 West African countries have been trained on agricultural innovation systems. The training, which took place in Accra, was attended by participants from Anglophone countries. They are the first batch of trainers for the Agric Innovation System, AIS. The Agric Innovative System was developed by the Technologists for Africa Agricultural Transformation, a framework developed by the African Development Bank. This forms part of the bank's efforts to foster the development of agriculture on the continent. Dr. Wole Fatunbi is the lead specialist on Agric Innovation System, and he has joined us in the studio. Doc, are you a prof, rather? Because I heard someone address you as a professor.
Yes, sir. I'm also an adjunct professor.
Right. Yeah. That's fine. So what is this Agric Innovation System all about?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ibrahim, and listeners at home for the opportunity to come around into the studio. Agricultural innovation systems refer to a model that was developed about 15 years ago to foster the development of greater impact from agricultural technology. Essentially, agricultural innovation systems looks at the entire loop of issues that revolves around generation of technology, utilization, dissemination, and derivation of benefit for those that are involved in the agricultural sector.
And why is this innovation system necessary? Africa has, large tracts of land. We have water. We have everything. Yet we continue to import food. So why is it necessary? Is it in response to the deficit, the growing need to bridge this gap?
Yeah, Ibrahim, you've said it all. Africa seems to have all the resources. Africa seems to have all it takes, but Africa still fails to derive benefit from all these things. What agricultural innovation system is all about is how do we organize ourselves and maximize the benefit we could get from the production asset that we have as a continent.
Right. So, you just told us that the model was developed some 15 years ago. What has it been able to do to impact positively on agriculture, especially production? Actually,
the innovation system itself has been existing for hundreds of years. But using the innovation system to orchestrate development in agriculture only came up about 15 years ago through the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa. At that point, the problem of non-productivity of agriculture seems to be battling everybody at the face. And all stakeholders and professionals were gathered together to jointly identify the problem and to see how we could provide solution to it. This actually was the beginning of the agricultural innovation system. Maybe I should quickly inform our audience that when we put all these problems together, we discover that it all speaks to our inability to maximize benefit from available technologies.
Right, but our inability to maximize, what did you say, use technology. Yes. There are a lot of challenges with regards to technology. We have a large unlettered farmer base population and so on and so forth. What has the innovation done to ensure that these unlettered farmer population pick the technology along their farming methods?
You have just identified one of the problems. Large population of farmers, people in the rural area, the primary producers themselves, they are I don't want to say unlearned because they have their own type of learning, but they are unable to access technologies. They are unable to interpret it. So what part of what innovation system approach is doing is getting them into a forum where they have direct access to technologies, where we enhance their access also to enabling environment or enabling issues that will translate these technologies into social and economic benefit. A technology is useless when we cannot translate it to more money in the pocket of the farmers.
Right. Now, we know of numerous scientific interventions by research institutions. We're talking of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, in Ghana. I'm sure you know about them. What is new about this particular system? Because we know CSIR has been there. They are doing all the scientific stuff. They are educating our farmers and so on and so forth. Yet we are struggling. And then this new innovation system, what is the name? Innovation system. Yeah. So what is different from what we know already?
Well, researchers, erstwhile, before now, okay, researchers tend to work alone, to think about the problem, assume sometimes the problem, conduct this research, generate knowledge, generate technology. In some instances, they generate inventions that produces frontline solution to problems. And he sits there. He expects the extension man to come and maybe he will share a bit of his discovery with the extension. Then we expect the extension to take it to the farmers. And the farmers will use it. We strongly discover that when the stakeholders are not working together, technologies just stay on the shelf. Mm-hmm. And so innovation systems approach, the first thing is, can we build a partnership model that ensure that all the stakeholders along the different commodity value chain come together to interact. Mm-hmm. And when they interact to jointly identify the problem around the commodities of interest. They jointly source solution to the problem they identify and prioritize. And when they discover solution, they utilize the solution in the direction of interest, their joint interest. And when they implement this solution, they learn lessons. Agricultural innovation systems believe that innovation that will benefit every stakeholder, we go through series of iteration. And so when you find a solution, you utilize it, you learn lessons from the trade-offs, or what the economists call opportunity. You learn lessons from the trade-off, and you move on to higher level. So this is one of the building blocks of the agricultural innovation systems, building the partnerships that works to ensure that technology is translated.
Right. And what is expected of this first batch of the trainer of trainers, you are told?
Now, I haven't discovered that Africa is pervaded with technologies, but the technologies are only delivering in pilots, small location. The idea is, can we bring technology to deliver at scale? Yes, African Development Bank came up with the TAAT project, Technology for Africa Agricultural Transformation. They developed this framework, and different development partners and countries are putting resources into it. Now, the aim of TAAT is how we need to get technologies to deliver at scale so that it benefits all the stakeholders and bring national economic freedom. Let me use the word freedom and development at the end of it all.
Right, Prof. That's fine. Before we go to Gabriel, also, who is a participant, let me ask you this. Most of these scientific interventions, in agriculture appear to have failed. I have to be blunt on this matter. What makes you think that this particular one is going to do the trick?
Well, Ibrahim, permit me to differ a little. The technologies in itself, they are very good and successful. But you need to create an enabling environment for technologies to be translated. For instance, CSIR Crop Research Institute developed a good maize variety that can give us 4 tons per hectare. But it is staying there. You need to take it to the farmers, get them to produce it. That's not the end. You need to work with the farmers to look for the end user of that maize and link them with the farmer so that farmer produce to meet a ready market. Okay? So creating this partnership is what actually translates technology to make it. So technology did not fail. We are the people that fail because we have not created the enabling environment for technology to be translated.
Let's quickly go. We come back to you. Let's quickly go to Gabriel Owusu, who is a participant at the training. Gabriel, you're welcome. And sorry for keeping you there that long.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners.
Right, good evening. Are you a farmer, if I may ask?
No, please. I'm an advisor.
Right, and what did you learn from the AIS training?
Thank you very much. I think, as Prof said, we had to undergo through the various evolutions, the concepts and principles, and what actually is innovation platform. And what we really got was that there's a need, because of our role, to see that in this platform, all the stakeholders we are going to facilitate are going to be, and they are going to make business out of this platform. So they're going to benefit out of it. And for us, that's very refreshing, because most of the time we advise farmers and other stakeholders to go into production, but because the market is not there yet, or the market requirements most of the time are not known to especially the farmer organization, it becomes difficult. But in this case, because they are on the same platform, knowledge will be shared, and everybody know that because of the business, the person is going to put the best to it.
Right, so the question many people are asking, and I have asked as well, is how beneficial to the African farmer? How is it going to be beneficial to the African farmer, most of whom appear to be illiterate, sort of? How is it going to help them?
I think with this, it doesn't whether you are illiterate or not, because you are part of the platform, the requirements will be shared, and because you know that once it's being produced, the other actor is taking it up, there's no cause for alarm. And so it will improve the challenges in which we have in the system.
Mm-hmm. And
during the training too, we had opportunity to visit a district which is practicing this, and we saw that it was about the citrus farmers where they were having problems, challenges with marketing. But there's a processing company, and they are all part of this platform, and some of these issues are being addressed. So the farmers were so excited.
Right, I'll discuss the issue of marketing with Prof. But how many people are you expected to train in your jurisdiction?
Currently, there's a network that I belong. We are about 75. So this information will be given to them on how to go about it, and they will now, because they are from the various districts, they will also be training based on the various commodities. Actually, apart from the TAAT, it also applies to all commodities. So once we have this knowledge, we will begin to roll it out.
Right. We understand you are somewhere in the north. What are the crops that are available in your area and that you can easily apply the technology to?
Mostly the cereals. Actually, I'm in Accra, but I came to do some work here. But in the north, the cereals, maize, sorghum, and the cowpea, all these things are very on the high side where they cultivate a lot.
Right. Now, how relevant is what you have learned? How relevant can you use it to improve yields under the government's Planting for Food and Jobs program?
I think it applies, as I said, it applies to all commodities. Farmers have been producing and they've been complaining that there's no market. But before you even produce, what is the market requirement? Who are the various actors? So extension advisors will help identify all actors along the agricultural value chain, and market requirements will be provided to farm organizations. So before they even produce, they know what to produce, because that's what the market demands. So that will eliminate some of the challenges we have with this system.
Well, that's fine, Gabriel. We want to thank you very much for talking to us, and we wish you well. So that was a participant at the training, Gabriel. Also, let's come back to Prof. Fatunbi. Prof, one major problem is we are crying that we have not been able to produce enough to feed our people. Yet when we produce enough, marketing becomes a problem. So most of the produce gets rotten at the market gate. This is a new technology that is expected to enhance production. Have you thought of marketing?
Thank you, Ibrahim. The problem of marketing seems to be cross-cutting across the continent, not only in Ghana. And largely, that problem, it's not a real problem, because you have just described it. The end user of maize is complaining and is putting pressure on government to import maize. The farmer who produces maize is complaining that I do not have market for my maize.
So how do we bridge the gap?
So what the innovation platform does is to ensure that we convert market opportunities into effective demand before we move to the field.
Yeah, Prof, let me push you on that. To how do you ensure that there is that link works, because of the huge complaints by most farmers, especially in the rural areas? How do you ensure? What kind of link are you going to create to ensure that we don't receive such reports anymore?
Yes, we set up innovation platforms. And for our listeners at home, let me repeat that. We set up innovation platform. Innovation platform brings all the stakeholders together. And the entry point to the setup of the innovation platform is market. We ensure that we look for market first as facilitators of the innovation platform. And we are not saying, we are not assuming the market. We are not saying because people eat rice in Ghana, then we will produce rice. That is the bad assumption we have carried on for a very long time. People eat rice, but we want a rice miller. Mr. John Kofi is a rice miller. He has his mill in Kumasi. Mr. Kofi required 200,000 tons of rice paddy of this quality delivered at this quantity. We bring him to the platform, okay, and we develop an MOU with him. Then we look at our farmers organization. How many farmers can produce this quality? We engage them. We look at the researcher. What technology do we need? Then we look principally also for the input dealer. Input dealers, can you supply the seed? I mean, how much agrochemicals do we need? How much fertilizer do we need? Transporter, we will need transport at this stage, at that stage. Equipment hiring agent, and we engage them like that, ensuring that we cover the closed loop. There is another important stakeholder, the finance providers. Okay, possibly we can engage the one that is set up by the government or private finance provider. We need so much money to provide this. Can you come in? Suggesting that an innovation platform works in a business mode. So the first thing we do is to develop the business plan, and we do this engagement in a closed loop.
Right. Now, Prof, your explanation sounds very rosy, and I may perhaps want to enter into farming to assess some of these things myself. But why you have been around? The innovation, system has been around for is it 15 years? You say it's been there for a long time, but it become visible in the last 15 years. So why is it that you went to sleep, sort of? Why didn't you implement all these over the years?
Ibrahim, we've been very active since the enactment of this idea. But every good idea needs to be tested and proven. Until 2010, we were busy conducting the proof of this concept. We only proved it around 2010, and we began to release it from 2012. I mean, to prove it, it generated so many benefits. Countries like Rwanda is very popular, their innovation platform, and I can categorically say that it contributed to some of the development we are seeing in Rwanda today. In Uganda, those are countries where we run the proof of concept. We are also in Ghana. The citrus issue that is mentioned in Ghana, and the citrus platform that is mentioned by the other contributor from outside, is an issue. I mean, and we have for a few other commodities. So those proof of concepts has been done. Now, it is no longer, we don't need to do any proof again. We are releasing it out. But you know that when you are releasing a new thing, you are actually trying to do a paradigm change. And change is very difficult, either positive or negative. And so researchers are struggling now to change the mode with which they've been working for decades, okay, to move into an innovation system mode. farmers are also struggling to change.
Right. So,
the private sector is doing the same.
you believe it is going to change the African story of food inadequacy?
Completely.
Right. Now, we understand the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, is it FARA, is involved in the exercise. In what ways is FARA assisting in this program?
Yes, FARA is holding the capacity and technology outreach component of the TAAT program. I mentioned TAAT, Technology for Africa and Cultural Transformation, by the African Development Bank. So FARA is holding a major pillar, capacity development and technology outreach. And within that, we are expected to develop the capacity, which we are doing across the continent, of the stakeholders to use innovation system. But TAAT also agreed that innovation systems, especially innovation platform, is the most viable tool we can use at this stage to ensure that this technology comes to scale and deliver national economic benefit.
So let's go back. How were the 60 participants selected? And on what basis?
Yes, in Ghana, FARA work with stakeholder. Of course, fortunately, FARA Secretariat is in Accra, Ghana. And so FARA has its network among the different stakeholder group in Ghana. And so we selected participants from all stakeholder groups, especially the research, the extension, then the youths. There is the youth, the Continental Youth Platform, and there is the Ghana-based YPAD. They brought in youths also to participate. The farmers the APES Farmers Organization, CSIR brought their staffs to participate. The extension system brought their staffs. We actually asked them and we specify criteria for selection. Part of the criteria is this person must be an active person. Must have proven record of delivering results. Must have the capacity also to train others, and a few other more specific criteria, so that the individuals we train will be able to train others, and they will have the capacity to implement agricultural innovation.
And how are you going to rope in agric training institutions?
Yes, we engaged strongly also with universities around, University of Ghana, University of Cape Coast, and a few other institutions of higher learning. And they came, they nominated individuals that were trained. Then this goes back to them.
And would the trainers be, evaluated to assess the impact of the program at a point?
Yes, and I'm very happy with that, Ibrahim. In FARA, when we do capacity development, we don't just leave you like the proverbial foolish farmer who picked fishes from the river and left the fishes at the bank. When the wave come, the wave take the fishes away and they lost out. After training, we insisted that all the trainees, they should go and train others and we take record. Actually, we did not issue certificate of training immediately after the training until you prove that you have ingested this knowledge and you are able to reproduce. That is when we begin to certify you. And at the end of it all, we will be expecting you also to set up and operationalize an innovation platform within that program. And so shortly, FARA is going to be making a call for proposals for individuals that are trained as well as those that are not trained, but they have an understanding of the innovation platform to apply for support so that they can have some little funding from this project to set up innovation platform around the selected TAAT commodity.
Right. Right. So what assurances, before you go, will you give to listeners that our Greek innovation system is the new, perhaps, a Greek miracle that we should expect?
Yeah, our listeners, I want to assure you that in the history of agricultural system, the innovation systems approach is the only one that the development partners and researchers categorically requested that it should be proven before they accept it. And we have done the proof. The proof is documented. It's on the internet for anyone to access and to look at how we did the proof of concept. And evidence is all over the place, for us to see. What is important for our listeners and stakeholders is to begin to change the way we work. We know that change is not easy, but this is talking about a positive change, and we really need to embrace it for our own good. For our listeners, I want to say that for a very long time, we have dragged behind, and Africa cannot afford to wait again. Our transformation needs to come.